It's Saturday, August 2nd, and that means it is time for the top 25 here at Ballard Sports Media. Hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe button. I'm your host, Christian Ballard of Ballard Sports Media. And I'm not going to break down every single, like 1 through 25. I think it's obvious some of these teams. I don't think there's a clear cut number one team this year for 2025. I don't think there's a clear cut team. I really don't. I think you have a case for a couple out there. If you want to put Ohio State, if you want to put Texas, if you want to put Penn State, could you put Georgia? I don't think there's a set in stone number one team. If anyone's close to it, it's Texas, at least in my opinion. So what I'm going to do, I got a graphic and I'm going to throw it up here. This is the thumbnail that I came up with, and I had kind of put out on Twitter. I put this, and I think I had said something like, "Are these the top four?" Or and I don't think anyone actually responded to it. But I will say, um, that is a good question. Is it the top four? I think these are top five teams: Penn State, Texas, Alabama, and Ohio State. I think they're top five, if not top 10, definitely. But then you get in to the top 25 itself. And what we're going to do is we're going to put this up here, and I'm going to take this banner off so you can see the whole thing. I figured show the whole thing and we'll talk about it. Um, I really need to take the ticker off too so you can see number 19 is Marshall, who I think could be one of the better group of five teams out there. I think they've had great success in recent years. I think that there's just a couple teams that stand out to me. You see West Virginia there. I think Rich Rod's going to do some big things. I feel like Neil Brown did some big things at West Virginia, but not enough. I'm very high on them to make a run at the Big 12 title, but I'm not set in stone the fact that they're going to make the Big 12 title because you also have Iowa State and Baylor out there. I think you start with Arizona State in the Big 12, and you really just go from there. So, but then you see at the top here, Texas, Penn State, Clemson, Ohio State, Georgia. I think those are the top five teams for this season. I would say put them in any order, but I don't think so. I really think based on returning production and potential and coaching right now. Now, this is not to say the two best coaches are James Franklin and Sarkeesian. Obviously, based on accolades, based on motivation, skills, and everything he's got going, I do think today, currently in 2025, the best coach in the country and probably the best program in the country is Georgia. Or is the best program still Alabama? Or is there a standard today? That's a big question to ask. But that's for another live stream or video sometime down the road. But let me know your thoughts on this top 25. I got Texas number one. I got Penn State number two. For me personally, because of returning production and everything, even though Texas has to break in a new quarterback in Arch Manning, they still return a lot, and they have a lot of potential this year to win the SEC. They're very hyped up, very much so. They got a lot coming back on offense and defense, and Sarkeesian's cooking up a good offensive plan. Penn State, um, I mean, they bring back Drew Aller, Nick Singleton, Kaytron out. They really didn't lose much. When you look at Penn State and what they did last year, 13-3 college football semifinal appearance, they have plus 600 odds to win the national title this year, which gives them a 7% according to ESPN analytics. The toughest test is going to be November 1st at Ohio State. Outside of that, you're going to have a whiteout with Oregon on September 27th, the same day of the Georgia-Alabama game. Same time, by the way, those two games come on. Why ESPN and ABC you did that? Okay. um, but what you can do here, let's say if Ohio State drops back a little bit this year, which they probably will, having to replace Will Howard with Julian Sayin, who transferred over from Alabama. He's going to be good. The question is, how good is he going to be first full year starting for anybody? Uh, and you just, you still got to see it, right? You look at Penn State, getting back to them, they have to have, I mean, they host Oregon, they host Indiana, they do avoid teams like Illinois and Michigan on their schedule. They don't have the best in terms of non-conference games for Penn State. They have to win either at Ohio State or home against Oregon. They could win both, but if you fail to win one of those, most likely it's at the Buckeyes, and you're still sitting there with only one loss. Would they go 10-2 with their schedule? Probably not, unless it is Oregon and Ohio State, in which case they probably would be considered the best two-loss team out there, and they make the playoffs and they end up, uh, you know, who knows? Maybe they make another run. So I got Penn State at number two. To defend myself there, I just like the returning production. I love what they got coming back defensively. I love Drew Aller and Nick Singleton coming back and Katron Allen. They got the 1-2 punch combo at running back, as I put it. There's just a lot to love about Penn State, but I don't think they're number one. I base this on returning production, at least to start out. I think it's Texas and Penn State with the best chance to run the table and make some noise on the field. Then you got Clemson, you got the defending champs in Ohio State, you got Georgia in your top five. Those three teams you could probably put in any order. I've heard good things about Clemson. They have a lot coming back with Cade Klubnik. And honestly, I feel like in ways they're underlooked or overlooked. I don't undervalued, overlooked. 10-4 last year, lost in the first round to Texas. Okay, that's not a bad loss in the first round of the playoffs. Toughest test, definitely going to be rivalry weekend uh, when they go to South Carolina. That's a true road game against a possible ranked in-state rival. I say possibly ranked. We'll see what South Carolina looks like. I like Lenora Sellers, but that's just about it for South Carolina. I mean, Dylan Stewart on the defensive side of the ball, and again, I do have them ranked actually at number 12. I got them ranked pretty high, but we'll see what they do this season. I think they got a lot of potential. But again, getting back to Clemson, you look at this and you say, this is a team that lost to Texas in the first round, won the ACC, and lost. I mean, they went 9-3 regular season, but they were able to win the ACC because their third loss was South Carolina. But even in those losses that they had outside of Georgia, Klubnik still threw for 200 plus yards and pretty much every game. He never really had a bad game last year. Even in the loss to Texas, where they lost 38-24, he was still the highest passing quarterback compared to uh, Quinn Ewers in Texas, or was Arch in that game? I don't remember who started for Texas in that game, but Klubnik, even in that game, was the highest passing quarterback in the first round of the playoffs. They lost 38-24, and he still threw for 300 plus yards at 336. So there's a lot of hype around quarterbacks this year, and Arch in Cade Klubnik. We talked a little bit about Penn State. There's hype about Drew Aller possibly making a punch at the Heisman. So there's a lot of good talent on the field for Clemson and in the locker room and in the depth chart. They just got to put it together. They struggled at times. Florida State wasn't all that great. They only won that by like 2 scores on the road. They lost to Louisville. They lost to South Carolina. So you had your moments with Clemson last year, but they finally got it together halfway through the season and put it together and were able to make a good run and push for the ACC in the playoffs. You look at this year, they open at home against LSU. This is a home and home. It's a night game, the big primetime game on August 30th, Saturday night football, and they host LSU. Going to be a big game. I, I got LSU in my top 10. I consider that a 3 versus 10 matchup right now, at least if you went based off my rankings. I know this is going to be completely wrong from ESPN's, but I just, if Clemson can pull that off, then they play Troy, then they go to Georgia Tech. I also got Georgia Tech in here. I'm really high on them, but not high enough to have them ranked up at the top. When I put the 20 to 25 teams there, you see Syracuse, Illinois, Iowa, West Virginia, Auburn, and Georgia Tech. Those are the teams that I'm high on, but I still need to see it. But I'll put them ranked for now. I even have Auburn ranked. I think they'll get it figured out at quarterback with Hank Brown. Well, no, Hank Brown went to Iowa. Jackson Arnold, which, by the way, Hank Brown at Iowa actually might be pretty good. I feel like he had some moments at Auburn. It wasn't great, um, but give him some time at Iowa, and I think he'll do okay. But Auburn brings in Jackson Arnold from Oklahoma, who wasn't all that bad. I mean, he beat teams like Alabama last year, had a good win streak and better second half of the season. Had some bad moments too, but he comes in, he's already in the SEC, so it's not like he's got to try to get comfortable. He's just got to get used to Auburn's system with Cam Coleman and Perry Thompson at wide receiver, of course, and they bring in Eric Singleton from Georgia Tech, if I'm not mistaken. So there's so much I can put into this on these teams, man. And I have a defense for every single team ranked right now, but I'd love to hear some feedback. If you want to rip me up for how I rank these teams or why someone's ranked and someone's not ranked, I know there's probably like Florida fans out there like, why aren't we ranked? But Auburn is. And I'm just throwing out examples. I'd love to hear it in the comments, and I'll come up with a good excuse. Maybe I just don't know. I mean, you can only have 25 teams in your top 25. That's not to say teams like Florida shouldn't be ranked going into the season or can't get ranked after the first couple weeks. That's not to say that uh, I don't know. Like I don't even have Louisville. I got Syracuse instead from the ACC, but Louisville might be a dangerous team too. Doesn't mean I think they're not worthy of being in the top 25. It's just saying that straight up, I like teams like Miami and Carson Beck. I like Clemson. I like Syracuse. There's just better ACC teams right now than Louisville, at least in my opinion. That's how I view it. I do this based on returning production. I take scheduling into account, and overall, just how I'm feeling about these teams. Like I just, you know, that's basically what ESPN does. How do we feel about this team? We think they're good enough to be in the top 25, but they're not top 20. So we're going to put them at 21. You don't think they're doing that? I'm not here to rip it up or tell you that they're doing it wrong. I think they're doing it right. And I hope I'm doing it right too. Michigan. Michigan beat Ohio State. They're at 13 on my top 25. They beat Ohio State, who won the Natty last year. Say whatever you want to about, well, they've been doing that and blah, blah, blah. That was one of the worst Michigan teams we've seen in a while. And they ended the season beating Ohio State and Alabama, and they return some production. I think Michigan takes a major step forward this year. You can joke about the sign stealing and everything and all that stuff. You can joke about it if you want to. They finished 8-5 last year and won their last 3 games. And they did beat 3 ranked teams last year. 2 of them were Ohio State and Alabama, and I want to say the third one. I can look real quick who it was. Um, to beat USC number 11 at home. Yeah, and Davis Warren, he was the key guy that replaced Alex Orji, and now he's back coming into his senior year. And yeah, I mean, threw for over 1,000 yards, had 9 picks. That's not good. 7 touchdowns. You'd like to have more, but he still won you big games because of the talent around him. And you always got to, even if a quarterback's not that great and he's a product of what's around him, he's still your leader on offense. And he won the games that he needed to win, like Alabama and Ohio State. You got to give him props there. I got Indiana. I think they bring back a lot this next year. They also lose a lot too, but I think Kurt Cignetti going into the season should have some good potential to compete for the Big Ten again. To start out, Tennessee. I could make jokes about Tennessee all I want to, but they got some guys coming back too. And the schedule sets up with an opener against Syracuse. That's going to be a big game. They have potential to win that in Atlanta. Top 20 matchup there, possibly. I don't know, man. I just I don't. So you got to understand some of these teams. I don't like to make the playoff this year, but I like them to get off to a good start, and that's kind of how my brain works here. I think, okay, who's going to start out the season really well? Let's go ahead and rank them. Plus, of how they ended the season last year, like Tennessee made the playoffs last year, and they lost in a blowout to Ohio State. But again, we saw what Ohio State became, the national champions. You say, well, they lost their quarterback. So what? I thought they handled that situation well. That's neither here nor there. We could talk about that and argue about it more somewhere else. Uh, I think who else is on here? I mean, Arizona State, Kenny Dillingham loses Cam Scatterboo, but Sam Levitt comes back, leading that offense. Made the playoffs last year as the top 4 seed with the bye, but didn't. I mean, they lost, but I mean, it's they are going to have a case to be favorites for the Big 12. When you look at it, I mean, they won it last year. They won 11 games overall and lost in the playoffs. I think Iowa State's out there for the Big 12. I don't really have much else other than Baylor or West Virginia. Like I said, I like Rich Rod this year, 6-7 last year for the Mountaineers. I expect them to take a big jump in the Big 12 this year. They open up with a couple cupcakes for non-con. Then they have the backyard brawl. They go to Kansas. Big 12 is always a mystery to me because it's like you see upsets all the time with big noon kickoff and everything. You just never know. So you got to be careful with how you rank the Big 12, even if a team such as Arizona State, who made the playoffs, or Iowa State, who's got Rocco Beck and company. Like, you just have to be careful with how you rank them overall. You have to. So, anyway, I've gone on for 20 minutes. Please hit me up in the comments. Email me, ballardsports19 at gmail. Hit me up on Twitter at Ballard Sports. I don't care. But again, I hope that we could agree on some of these rankings. I got to hear from you guys in the comments. I can't be completely wrong on these rankings, can I? I think we have to understand here, folks. Let me put this back up. Texas, Penn State, Clemson, Ohio State, and Georgia are the top 5 teams going into this season. Alabama starts it out just outside, right? I think the top 10 is not too bad. Maybe you swap 7 through 10. Maybe Notre Dame should be lower than LSU or Miami or whatever. Maybe Miami's top 5 in your book. I don't know. But I feel like it just gets harder to rank as it goes because the obvious picks or the obvious teams to rank are the ones that everyone's going to talk about and talk about the favorites. After that, nobody talks about these other teams, but I'm here to talk about them and say that Georgia Tech, Auburn, Baylor have potential. Just throwing 3 teams out there, as an example. They have great potential this season, and I can't wait to see what they do. Again, if you disagree, let me know in the comments. If you agree with any of it, let me know in the comments. If you're neutral, you don't care, let me know that you don't care. That's fine. Gosh, I've gone on too long. I love you guys. Jesus loves you. Keep your head up. God bless. And we'll see you next time here at Ballard Sports Media. Love you guys.